Alright guys, so before we get into this episode, I just want to give a huge thank you to Sasha Spinners for sponsoring this episode. If you are looking for high quality, high pound test, and hand-tied catfish rigs, walleye spinners, and pickler rigs, I would highly recommend you check out Sasha Spinners. I will leave the link to the website in the description. I would highly recommend you check it out. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. I don't know. Woo-wee! What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the
Outta podcast.
I'm Nathan Blake.
I'm Kane Creedon. We got some fun topics to talk about today.
So, it's been a little while. Caden's been away working at Crowduck. I've been putting in the business of the fishing hole. We have not made a little bit of a episode in a while, but we're back at today. I'm very energetic, as you can probably tell. So we're going to kind of go over a lot of topics today, everywhere. I hear my family coming downstairs. They better not open that door. And we're going to go towards ice fishing. We're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about our future plans. So without further ado, let's get into the video, the podcast, the talk. So starting off, Caden, what have you been up to in the last little while?
I've been doing work.
Who is it? Sorry about that, guys. Becky Parisian had a little bit of an entrance in the video. Where was I? Yeah. So, Caden, what have you been up to in the last little while?
I've been doing, been working since the start of June, and it is now mid-July. My schedule runs Thursday to Sunday, and I get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, but I mostly work those days as well, just for some extra money on the side. And yeah, basically been working and doing a little bit of fishing here and there. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, that's basically it, really.
It's kind of weird because we have two very different approaches in the fishing world. You're in the physical, working at a lodge. People are actually fishing. I'm in the back scene, the
business part of it almost.
Yeah, the behind the scenes selling lures and stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah, we have very contrasting areas of work, I guess you could say.
But familiar in some sorts, right?
Because it's funny, a lot of people say they're going to Crowduck when they go show up at the fishing hole, and I tell them what I know based off experience. And I mean, I'm not sure if people are asking where to buy lures, because if they're at Crowduck, they probably know, but that's cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get a handful of people asking me, like, you know, what to use, and they're at Crowduck already, and they ask me what to use. I'm like, oh boy, because I'm gonna say something fancy like plastics with Z-Man, Smeltinator heads and stuff like that, and I'm like, you should have went to the fishing hole to see this guy. But yeah, I point them in the right direction.
Yeah, that's good. We work together. We have a good system. But yeah, a few questions, because I've actually had people ask me this, and while we're on the topic of Crowduck, I guess, people know that it's an amazing fishery. You can go anywhere and use a stick and catch fish.
Oh, yeah.
But if you had to point people in a general direction, if they said, where do I go? Just as a broad question, where would you say?
Like on Crowduck?
On Crowduck.
I would probably say, so I'd probably need a map to really show you guys, but if you're listening right now and you've been on Crowduck, you probably know where I'm talking about, but we call this Dinner Point. And it's, if you want to go catch dinner, you go to the point. It's as soon as you leave the dock, if you look straight at the lake, there's a point and there's an island, and right in between, or right on that point to the right, there's a tall pine tree on your right. As soon as you're exiting the bay, you fish there, and anywhere from 30 to 15 feet of water. And there's been multiple master anglers pulled out of there this year already. I think I know of 4 that have been pulled off that exact, no, sorry, I know of 3 that have been pulled off that point, and then 1 in the north part of Crowduck.
Yeah.
So far.
And you don't normally hear about Crowduck having masters being pulled out, but...
Well, yeah, back in the day, it used to be a catch and release fishery. So once walleye got introduced, they basically exploded. The population just grew like crazy, and the walleye were hungry, right? So basically, every fish that you caught was like 20...
We're both looking at the same thing. Sorry. Sorry.
Every like fish that you caught, I want to say at least 6 or 7 years ago, was anywhere from like 22 is your smallest. You'd be embarrassed if you caught a 22 incher from 26 inches. They're all in that range, but they had a big head on them, skinny bodies and big tails because they were starving for food, obviously, right? And back then is when you could actually capitalize on some really nice fish, 28 to 30s, 32s, 31 inch fish. And but now, ever since Bill allowed people to take 2 out of Crowduck, the population of the walleye in Crowduck Lake has gotten healthier. So you're seeing a lot more 16 to 19 inchers that are round, fat, and they suit their body weight, obviously, because they don't look sick or skinny in that matter. But I honestly give this fishery another, I want to say maybe 3 years, and it won't be common to, or it will be common to catch a master angler sized fish, or get back into that 24 to 28 range, I feel.
You actually made a good point, because you said that when Bill allowed 2 fish. So I thought that was more like government of Manitoba that they could do that. Is he allowed to do that?
Yeah, I think it was more government of Manitoba that actually enforced that. I guess they obviously had to let Bill know, right? It wasn't Bill's decision to take out 2, right? But yeah, that's just how I put it.
Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say that's really cool if you could make your own limits on a certain lake.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he has, I don't know what it's called, but basically the owner of Crowduck Lake Camp owns Crowduck, Side Saddle, and Saddle Lake, so no other lodge or outpost, or even people who want to start to create a lodge or an outpost, can make business on those 3 lakes. So he basically owns them, is a better word.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of people too, because I was actually a guy today, like a lot of people were going for day trips, and the one guy today said, yeah, I'm going for the day trip. If I were to go for the week, it'd be too expensive. Do you think it's worth it, though, if you have the money to stay for the week at Crowduck?
If you have the money to stay a week at Crowduck, I feel like it would be, I feel like it'd be worth it, because we ask our day trips to be off the water by 5 o'clock at the dock, so we can clean their fish and get them out and back home or whatever, right? But if you have a cabin there, you can stay out as late as you want.
Which is nice, yeah.
Branching off the topic of that, too, is other lodge and outposts offer guided excursions. So Aikens is a good example. Eagle's Nest, I believe, as well. And a couple other a couple other outposts as well. You're kind of like restricted on what you can, not restricted, but you're not as free as you would be in Crowduck. So Aikens, I don't know how the whole thing works, you'd have to get into it, but they offer excursions, and then you have to be off the water with your guide at this time, and then for the rest of the evening you're not allowed to go out, or you probably can, but you'd have to talk to your guide about it, right? You're asking someone to go out fishing at Crowduck. You can literally go out whenever you want. If you want to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, the boss there would have no problem with that whatsoever. You're very free. You can fish as late as you want, and basically.
Can you get in? Because I know you're driving across the North Shore, in by Kubota. Can you fish like sunrise somehow at like 5:30, or is it like you have to wait till like later on?
Like day trips wise?
Day trips wise.
So we have a couple day trips that will honestly, like, I'll be at the dock by 5 o'clock, 5:30. Whenever your boat's there, I'll hitch a ride across. There's only a couple people like that, who are close with Bill. So like the average day trip can't just say, yeah, I want to pick up for 5 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. Bill would be like, hey, we're not going to make this one trip just for you. If there's a big group, then yeah, obviously we can make it happen. But
yeah, it makes sense.
Certain people have been doing that over the past couple of years, and Bill's kind of just gone along with it. I think there's like 1 or 2 guys that actually are crazy early fishing or at the dock there waiting to get picked up.
Yeah. But I've said with the day trip, if you have to be in by 5, like some people, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous fishing like all day. But if you want to hit sunset, you can't with the day trip. So.
Yeah, exactly. You can't hit prime time. But I believe like the earliest you can get in is 7 o'clock. So if you're at the North Shore by 6:30, in Crowduck fishing by 7:30, 7 o'clock, I mean, you still have a pretty full day of fishing, right? If you're back in by 5, so that obviously works out there. But obviously the fishing, if you get on top of a school of walleye and you start catching fish and nothing leads off, your day kind of goes by fast.
Yeah,
like
true.
Holy, it's already 2 o'clock, right? Like,
yeah.
You got to go back in a couple hours, but still lots of guests make up for it and everything. So
one thing I will say too is the most I've ever spent on Crowduck at once is 2 days back to back.
Yeah.
And what I will say is if you're staying for the week, there's no way that for 7 days straight you're gonna be like either strictly jigging or like strictly like doing one technique. Like even after 1 day of bang 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 for walleye, it does get old. Like you have to change it up if you're staying for the week because you're honestly gonna get bored.
Yeah.
You gotta either go for smallmouth and go shallow and throw chatterbaits at the shore or go deeper on a reef.
That's what I do too because I've been working there for 3 years now, and my first year or so, I was like, yeah, I'll get on top of walleye, right? It'd be lots of fun, get 50 walleye to myself kind of thing, and I could still do that on the regular, but I honestly rather fish for bass. But honestly, getting a chance to catch a 20 inch, 21, 22 inch smallmouth is pretty high on Crowduck because it used to be a smallmouth and a northern pike lake. So that chance of getting a big smallmouth like that is pretty high, so I'd like to capitalize on that. And they're just so much fun. I prefer catching smallmouth than actual walleye, than pulling 50 walleye out in 1 day.
I can't really
bringing out
argue
guests,
with that,
yeah, if you're bringing out guests and stuff like that, or like family members, you get them on top of school of walleye, they have a blast, right?
Yeah, exactly. And kids too. Their first time going out. It almost, if it's the kids' first time though, it almost ruins them because then you can't go to a normal lake and catch 4 fish. I mean, what the heck is
high
this?
Expectations for other lakes. If you go to another lake with kids or whatever, like, why aren't we catching like we did in that other lake? And yeah, it just sets high expectations for lots of lakes around the province.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Is there any crazy stories you've heard this year, or anything that you remember?
So one story that does stand out. I believe it was early May, on one of the weekends. I believe. I think it was early May or mid-May. Early weekend. The water was still like 54 degrees or something like that. It was freezing. So the walleye weren't in full swing yet, but they were still kind of in their spawning areas. We had this big day trip group that came up from the States, and I believe they came in for the full week. So it was almost like staying at a cabin, but they go back every night, and they stayed at the North Shore there at Big White.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they went for 6 days or whatever. And I believe on their second day, it was windy, it was rainy, it was not a good day to go fishing, and there was 3 bigger gentlemen in the boat, and they weren't very boat
you told
smart.
Me about this, yes.
They weren't very boat smart. Me and my coworker Jeff at the dock, we were letting them off, and they just weren't very boat smart. Like, all of them would lean over to one side to grab a tub of minnows, right? So we were kind of worried about them, but didn't think much of it. And around 3 o'clock, 3:30, maybe even 4 o'clock, we get our other day trip rushing into the docks saying that we have a capsized boat on the lake. So we grab the staff, we grab 2 boats, head out there, and we find those 3 gentlemen capsized on Crowduck. So a boat flipped, and their story was that they were back trolling in waves.
Oh boy.
Like I said, not boat smart whatsoever. And yeah, they were back trolling, started to take on water, and they were wearing those life jackets that kind of just go around your neck and your shoulders there, the expensive ones that explode or you pull the tether or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't smart in that area either. They were wearing 3 life jackets, like 3 of them were wearing those exact same life jackets, and only one of them went off. The other 2 did not explode.
So they had a faulty cartridge, or
they had no CO2 cartridge.
They didn't have one in there?
No.
Oh.
Because I guess it either happened before and they never changed it again, or they just never had one in there. So they went to go pull it.
What?
And it didn't go.
Oh
Keep in mind,
gosh.
these gentlemen are above 60. So one of them seemed okay. He could retain his body heat a little better. He was he could move a little more. He was a little younger, I believe. He was 60 or something like that. But the other 2 gentlemen, I swear to God, they looked like a ghost. Like, they looked like they died right on the spot.
Oh my God.
If the day trip didn't find them in the next half an hour or so, their body would have froze up and they wouldn't have made it.
So a day trip notified you guys and told you guys?
Yeah, so we had a big group. I think it was 8 boats or something like that went out. It was one big group, and then we had another separate day trip group that went out, and they were driving back to come home for the 5 o'clock, or I guess they were done for the day, and they found the boat. They're that's kind of a weird looking sight to see, because what they saw, the boat was spinning in circles, and then they just saw and then they saw the underside of the boat, and they're like, hey, that doesn't look normal. And they went over and got it. So that's one story that sticks out. That's my second story that I've heard of a capsized boat on Crowduck.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys, they were out of sight. You wouldn't have seen them?
Oh, we wouldn't have found them, no. If 5 o'clock came around, usually when 5 o'clock comes around and it's an hour after that time and a day trip still isn't in, we'll send a search party out. We'll send a boat out to find the boat. But yeah, if that time when it came around and no one had found them, we would have stumbled upon them and they wouldn't have been intact. They would have been dead.
That just goes to show, when you think nothing can go wrong and you don't have the proper...
It can happen in a blink of an eye.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it really can. But yeah, they got back to the dock and they were just so... Keep in mind, the water's 54 degrees.
Yeah, this would have been cold.
So it's freezing.
Ooh.
And yeah, they were not in good
I
shape.
could imagine, but I can't imagine.
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
No, it was not a good experience for them at all. But hey, you just gotta be aware of that stuff, right?
I guess not only wear your life jacket, but have the CO2 in it now with the newer ones.
Just, be smart about that to make sure your gear is not faulty before you head out on, some dangerous conditions, whether it be fall time, actually any time of the year, summer, fall, and spring. You just gotta make sure your gear is good.
Yeah, you'd think you're bulletproof, but until that actually happens, you'd be wishing you weren't. You would wishing you weren't putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Mhm.
I did not know about that. I guess I should have asked. But yeah, wow.
Yeah, very scary though. That was not comforting whatsoever.
Well, lesson learned. Back to a more happy topic. So this guy, been working the same. Got myself a little bit of publishing. I don't know if you can see in the background, or if you've even seen out and whatever, but Hook magazine cover, made the front page. Summertime. Also had an article in it. This kid made one of the pictures in it, and then right there, that collage again. I got a feature in it, and then I had my article. That was my first one, so I had that framed. So a little bit of magazine publishing with Hook, so that was kind of cool. Neat when you have people coming out of the store and grabbing a magazine on the way out, and it's you on it, or even people at Ron's Marine and people farther, I think more in northern Manitoba, sending me pictures of random shops that had the magazine there. So it's
that's awesome.
I'm worldwide now. You can call me Pitbull anyway. Yeah, so that's cool.
So let me ask you a question. How did you get into that? How did you let's talk about your first published article. How did you get on the page? Let's put it that way.
The front page or the first article?
The first article. How did you get an article in the Hook magazine?
So I knew there's a guy at work who's done publications, done articles in the Hooked magazine before, so I asked him, and I got the editor's email, and I sent him an email. I got kind of just asking if he'd taken work. I'm not sure how that works. I'd be willing to write an article if he'd let me. And then he's like, yeah, sent me a outline kind of how they want it, and I had a story that I wrote on WordPress just to have and kind of look back on someday. So I kind of restructured it the way they wanted it, and sent it to him. Was hoping, didn't think a whole lot of it, because I mean, Hook magazines, I'm not sure how easy it is to get in there, how good you have to be, how appealing the story has to be. But no, I got in the article, and the feature, I don't know if you can see there, the features as soon as you open up. So usually they feature someone, so it has a little bit of a bio about me, which is pretty cool. And then the actual article, White Show Gold. So that was when me and you were out. I think we talked about this in the podcast before.
We did a video on it.
We did the video on it. So that's where the pictures came from. But yeah, so that was when we went to Big White Show in the spring fishing for walleye, and then I did a side note for protecting walleye conservation. Big conservation guy. Even in the second article I did, where I'm the front cover, in the actual article that I did, again, I did you'll have to read it, but I did something kind of like that again. Big conservation guy, spread the word. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. And from there, I'd like to get into Outdoor Canada, maybe write something there.
Yeah.
I'm good at writing. Like, how do I put this? I can't use the R word on this podcast here. I don't even know. Okay. My writing is better than my speaking, if that makes sense. I'm very...
The R word by writing?
No. Writing starts with a W.
Well, that's what I thought you meant. I can't use the R word. I was trying to make sure.
I was going to say... Okay, I'll say it. I might seem a little retarded in person, but writing, I'm okay at it. Sorry, guys. But yeah. So, the cool thing about that is it kind of... I want to say it gives me a boost of confidence. Sounds very Taylor Swifty. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm throwing shots here. But, yeah, I want to get into other publications. That'd be pretty cool. Outdoor Canada would be nice. I like doing social media stuff. I like taking pictures, stuff like that. In the media, if I could do stuff with Hunt Fish Manitoba, it'd be kind of cool.
That would be neat.
I like tourism in Manitoba. I like explaining different places and sharing knowledge of different places to go, because there's some amazing places I've been to that it'd almost be a shame if I didn't tell people about, because document some of the stuff. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So it's almost sharing the journey and just putting how do you know how to explain that? Just having it out there for the world to see, I guess, if it hasn't already been.
Making a mark, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's one thing to make a Lake Winnipeg video where everyone knows Lake Winnipeg, but it's another thing to make like a horseshoe video or like a footprint lake video that not as many people have done. Back lakes, stuff like that.
Unique species like tiger trout, like Arctic grayling would be cool. Like it just stand out, right? Like it's just another walleye video.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, another 30-incher. Okay, where did that come from? Oh, Lake Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it's hard to do it, but I'm trying to have the video quality, sound quality, cinematic quality, to have it like you're there and experiencing it. That's obviously very hard to do, but it's not going to be something that's completely out there, because, I mean, you can figure out different techniques and all that to...
It is hard to do, but I mean, if you're willing to spend the money and everything, I don't think it'd probably be that hard, as long as you're willing to spend the money, like on microphones and all that fun stuff, right?
Like, you can't put into words when you have, like, let's say 20-inch smallmouth or a huge walleye in your hand, and you're feeling the scales. You can feel, I don't know how to explain it. You just feel its life in your hands. It, like, you can't really put into words, but it's incredible, and that's why I want to keep doing that sort of thing.
It's even better when you get that on film.
Yeah.
Or to document.
And you can look back on it. All the things I love looking back on. Sometimes I watch my old videos more than I watch other people's videos. Yeah. It's true, honestly. But yeah, documenting everything, freezing that time, having that.
Remember it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll look back on it someday. We won't regret anything we did. I can't say.
No.
I mean,
there's been some moments where
I would have done something differently. It's actually a very good time to reflect on what you've done learning experience. Yeah,
exactly.
I've seen a few of my hook sets where, for example, the GLX video where we were fishing in the boat with my winter jacket on. Like that's just a great example. You got to learn from your mistakes, and it's also a great reminder of how far you've come, which is what we talked about before.
Absolutely.
Be happy with where you are, but look how far you've come. I'm not trying to get all like emotional here, but
it's true though. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've been up to. What else? For fishing trips wise, I mean, the weather's been very Manitoba. They say if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it'll change.
Yeah.
For example, it's been raining, but there's been crazy heat.
It's been wet and cold this spring, but this past 2 weeks or a week and a bit has been very hot.
Yeah.
It's like only 20 degrees today. It's a very nice change, actually.
Yeah. And with the hot weather, it's affecting the fish. When you go to, when I go to Barron Lake, I try jigging in deep water. I try casting at the shore. I try trolling. I go to all my spots, which are almost always good, and there's one fish to be caught in the entire day.
Yeah. Well, same with me when I did a solo trip to Lac du Bonnet on the Winnipeg River there. I was trying to target bigger walleye on that river system because I know that system can hold some very big fish, and I only caught one fish all day in a span of I think 7 or 8 hours. I was out fishing.
Yeah.
One fish. And I think it was a 23 or 24 incher still, but all day.
Some fish. Now, I used to think, and I still kind of debate about this, what I believe. I used to think that no matter what, a fish can always be caught. But one thing I have learned with the Mega Live, and you can just see it, and if you've looked at it long enough, you've done it for long enough, you can just tell that fish is not going to bite. Like, there's...
Absolutely.
It's so, negative, or just so turned off. It's so low metabolism, it's just not going to bite.
But there's other instances too, like crappie fishing, or
oh yeah, that was great this one. Or crappie fishing,
or smallmouth fishing, where you can tell they're gonna bite because they're charged up, energetic.
You can see the caudal fin moving almost sometimes. You can just kind of see it,
and you can see their aggressive behavior. Like even just on a 2D sonar, when you're lifting up and he's actually following you up. Or even on a Mega Live, if they're, or live imaging of that sort, if they're coming in and they're engaging with it, they're swimming back off and they're coming back to check it out again, right? They're not just swimming by your bait like you don't exist.
It's one of the worst feelings. They say Mega Live or live imaging is great until you realize all the fish that you haven't been catching and how much they don't care about you. It's actually heartbreaking sometimes, honestly.
And honestly, it is a very good balance of finding fish and having a heartbreak over fish, because depends on how far you're scanning. If you're scanning 10 feet or 15 feet to the left or right or whatever, and you can see that fish come in and then it disappears and then it shows up again on the other side past you. It's just why?
What the fuck?
Why? Right?
But camera stopped recording. Sorry about that, guys. Batteries died. Where were we? We're talking about fish negativity.
Correct.
Fish just sometimes are not going to go for it. You can tell it's not even worth spending time and getting all agitated and frustrated and switching baits and throwing something else. But you're not going to catch it, honestly. No. Now, someone else might be thinking, well, that's not true. I can catch them like this, or that's not true. There is certainly a way to catch them. There may be, but I've seen a lot of instances you're just like, yep, that fish is not biting. Like ice fishing, for example. First of all, I want to say this too. I love live imaging, but there's something about 2D, and I think I've said this before, about ice fishing with a 2D and having your lure come up and having the bottom just raise up. Love that feeling. Yeah. But it's the worst feeling ever when you're watching a fish sit there. On 2D, you kind of know it's sitting there because it's not really moving, or it'll kind of rise up and just before, or even mold into your lure and just sit there and you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Or with Mega Live, you see it shoot up and just stare at it. Or Sauger, you'll see a big circle, and they're fast. First of all, Sauger,
I know,
they're so zippy. They're like perch. But anyway, it's incredibly frustrating how they work.
Absolutely. One thing I've also noticed too, with your technique and also mine, I'm also bad with this when I'm with you. More so when I'm actually have a live imaging unit in front of me. So let's put an instance here. You're on Lake Winnipeg. You're jigging a 60 millimeter rattle bait. You're working it hard, calling them in, right? Calling them in, and 10 feet away, you see a fish coming in, right? You see a fish coming in, and you're like, oh, fish coming in. And then you'll start to be finesse. Fish comes in, looks at it, and goes off. One thing I find the problem with that is when you're ripping it, that fish likes it. So when that fish comes in from 10 feet away and you want to be more finesse to actually get the bite, honestly, don't stop. Don't stop what you're doing. If you keep ripping it, he's gonna take it. Like, honestly, like, that's what I've reflected on this past winter. If a fish likes something, like say you're even marking on a 2D sonar, you're pounding the jig in the bottom hard or ripping it up fast.
Pound the jig in the bottom.
Yeah, pound the jig in the bottom. And he likes it. Don't slow down your presentation. Keep that fish interested and kind of don't stop. That's one thing I'm going to try and focus on this winter. I don't know if you've noticed it, but when you mark a fish from 10 feet away, you're like, okay, I'm getting ready. And you either slow down or you get ready too fast, and I feel like that kind of throws the fish off. I don't know if that could be something to look into, but you never know.
I'd agree with you. It's almost a happy medium, though, because I'd say, well, whatever lures in the fish, whatever he's intrigued with, don't change it. I mean, obviously, well, there's some instances, though, it's kind of a gray area where if you're like well, that's actually not a good example. Let's say you're using a jigging Rap and you're going absolutely crazy, pounding it, you don't give him a chance maybe to hit it. Like, he might hit it, but get hooked in the side funny, but you're not really giving him a chance. Then it's kind of maybe a little bit giving the opportunity. But generally, if they like something, don't change it.
Like, if they're 5 feet away, don't change it.
But what I will say, with rattle baits, for example, a tantrum or a huge rip and shad, almost, okay, I'm gonna try and make a hunting analogy. Don't fall in love with the deer stand if the deer have gone that way. That was one of my best ones. And I'm no expert at hunting, but if you have a turkey 10 yards away from you, you're not going to, well, I don't think you're going to call it again. Or if you're deer hunting and you're in the tree and he's right there, I don't think you're going to give him another wheeze. You might give him the mark. But when they're there, you don't want to freak them out, is what I'm kind of getting at.
Exactly.
You don't want to throw them off. You want to intrigue them. Like, let's say I'm ripping the rattle bait. I rip it once, a big, like, it's going everywhere. You just know that there's been vibrations in the water sent and shot every direction. You wait a bit, and you wait for the fish to come in. If they're not coming in, maybe give it one big rip and do that again. I mean, unless you're doing like small little rips, it's fine. But if you're doing one big rip every now and then, but you don't want to have that fish then come in and give it one huge rip and then be like, whoa, out of there.
But like, if you're giving it like smaller little rips or just, pounding it on the spot and you mark one coming in, I wouldn't stop, or I wouldn't, do one hard rip to get it interested, because I feel like it came in to see what that little knocking was. Because when you buck a rattle bait or whatever, it's kind of doing this, and those BBs are moving back and forth, or that knocker is moving back and forth, so it likes that. So I wouldn't stop it.
I want to make another
speed it up or slow it down.
Sorry, I want to make another good point too. Fish will also take their sweet time to come in.
Oh, absolutely.
If they hear something, they're not going to go and go right in. They might kind of circle around, almost like a bear at a bait. They might take a one big circle, kind of see the area. They might do one big circle, see what they're dealing with. Almost, and kind of get like Batman the whole perimeter almost. Like, they're not going to always shoot in, so that's something to keep in mind too. And the timing, you have to be careful, because you're like, okay, well, what if a fish heard it? Let's say, okay, this is a great example. If you're using 360, let's say, and there's a fish however many feet away. There's fish over there. You give it one big rip, and you kind of let the 360 refresh again. You kind of want to time it where, okay, I think he might take a little bit more time to come in. I'm not going to give it any more rips. I'm going to go subtle rips. Or if you're seeing a refresh, or even if you're shooting in forward mode, okay, he's coming in pretty fast, I don't really have to give another rip. You kind of have to time it almost, because they might take a long time to come in. But then again, that fish takes a long time to come in, like we're talking about before, might not even be interested in the first place of actually taking it. He just wants to see what it is.
Right. More interested in it than anything. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
He may be interested, come in and go, okay, not what I expected. And then, go look at it and then swim away, right?
Some fish, too, they'll bump it with their face.
Yeah.
Almost like, and you'll think it's a bite, and then you go, and then you just scare it off completely, but yeah.
Or rip its lift off, either one.
Yep. Rocket ship propel them out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, going back to ice fishing, I don't know if you guys have realized this, but I love ice fishing more than open water, 100%. And the arsenal is getting better and better now with the truck and a snowmobile. Used to have quads. We're upgrading now. There's endless possibilities. There's so much room for activities. This winter, mark my words, I'm going to be ice fishing so hard on Lake Winnipeg. I have a cabin on Lake Winnipeg. There's no excuse why I can't be there. I'm fishing super hard. I'm staring at you at home sitting here and watching this. I'm putting you on the I'm not going to put your life on. I'm catching a 30-inch walleye, and it's going on the wall. Replica mount is coming. When you set a goal... Why are you doing that?
I thought it'd make it more intense.
Okay. When you have a dream, you don't let that dream disappear. You got to chase that dream. I set it in stone. I'm catching a 30-inch walleye. It's going on the wall. When I speak these words into existence, I can't just let myself down and not catch it. It's happening. So Nathan Blank is catching a 30-inch walleye this winter, and it's going on the wall. It's going to cost $1,600 for the replica mount. It's going on a piece of driftwood, but I don't care. It's going to be a cool backdrop mount for the podcast. I'm catching a 30-inch walleye. There's a perfect example of speaking things into existence and getting them done. But I love ice fishing. And
tell.
Bro loves ice fishing. And
just put our viewers' life on the line.
Yeah, sorry. I know I'm big and strong. Yeah, anyway. But yeah. Ice fishing, super excited this season. I know I'm not wishing open water away, but a few things that we're planning. For one, the Winnipeg Ice Fishing Show. We hope to both be there. Caden went there last year. He talked to everyone. He talked to Gussie, talked to Jay Clayton, the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Jankin, your aunt's favorite fisherman.
He was awesome. He was my favorite.
Yeah, he's cool. We had the mullet off. Remember, I had a mullet off against him on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We don't talk about
I
that.
have a mullet
Anyway,
too, so.
We're gonna hopefully go there with the lanyards again, representing the brand. Maybe even bringing a camera, and the mic, and doing a little video, talking to people. We'll see. Also, too, this is completely random, getting kind of individual here. I'm thinking of going with an Otter. The Otter rod box, the 48-inch deep box. It's like $300-something bucks, but it's going to keep the rod safe, and my rods are my weapon, so I do want to always keep those safe. And I have to say, I was thinking about a Vanford with the discount. It might not be that bad, or a diesel. I don't know. I love the sound of a diesel, but a Vanford would be super sick to have. And either a Vanta Black frostbite rod, 38 medium true grit, in the Vanta Black, because it'd be titanium guides, and this would be a rod I'd have forever, or an Elliott rod. But they're super nice, but they're not titanium guides. So it's something to keep in mind with what I'm going to do this winter. But that's my big goal for this winter.
It's weird. We're talking about ice fishing.
I know. I know. This is so random. Anyway, you got to always stay on it though. Ice fishing will be here before you know it. Anyway.
Okay, so let's maybe get back onto the topic of summer fishing here.
Yeah, sorry. We're down a dark path there. Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and we're kind of going to bounce back and forth with this. But, did we talk? No, we didn't. Okay, so when I went to Lac du Bonnet and I caught one fish in a span of 8 hours, and you went to Barron, how long did you go for Barron? How long did you fish?
4 hours.
So in the 4 hours of
3
fishing
hours.
on that very small lake of yours, doing everything in your power to catch a fish, and you caught one. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm no fisheries biologist yet, but I think, well, I don't completely understand it, but in theory, I would assume that the heat, like us humans, your metabolism, like it's kind of weird, because if it's cold, your metabolism would go down, but if it's hot, you'd have a high metabolism, but you're still sluggish. I think it's the exact same thing. Now, I can't remember Lac du Bonnet with Barron. It's a clear lake, so the sun is hitting the very bottom of the lake, And for those of you who don't know, if it's a cloudy lake, you're not going to have as much algae growth because it can't hit the bottom. Whereas if it's a clear lake and you're having direct sunlight, you're going to have more vegetation. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think when fish, especially in clear lakes, are getting hit with direct sunlight, and they can take cover, obviously, there's a bunch of cover everywhere. But when you have increasing water temperatures, and they say that fish can feel temperature change, I can't remember the...
Like 15 degrees more than humans or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They can feel it a certain
like 10
magnification.
times more than us.
Yeah, something like that more than us.
Yeah.
So it certainly plays a factor in their eating habits. It's like dusk, dawn when they eat, and that's it. I think. I think there's no, like when it's plus 30. I think they're literally eating when they have to, and that's very early in the morning and then late at sunset. Yeah. That's what I think. It's middle of the day. They are not interested in anything. That's what I think. But anyway, who am I?
Well, I'm no fisheries biologist, but I'm just gonna speak what I know and what I think personally. So when I went out on Lac du Bonnet, the weather was not in my favor. Okay, so the weather was like the winds were like 20 gusting to 30 on Lac du Bonnet with a 16-foot boat. It was not fun, not at all. My back still hurts. The waves were huge. Yeah, so funny. So yeah, targeting walleye on that system. First of all, I'm gonna start making excuses right now. That was my first time actually 100% fishing that lake. The other times I've been on there was cruising around with family because I have family that live on Lee River.
What?
Yeah. Or not live there, they have a cabin on Lee River.
What?
Sorry.
Who?
Yeah. My auntie and my uncle.
This is news to me. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So anyways, it's my first time actually fishing it. That's my only excuse. So other than that, it's a big body of water. So there's lots of spots.
Sorry. sorry.
Woo. That's not a roll. Ruin that for me.
Sorry.
Anyways, it's a big body of water. So I can't with you. It's a big body of water, so it's hard to pick out certain spots that are going to have fish. So Lac du Bonnet does have some structure, but it's got lots of boring structure. So it's got some underwater points and a little bit of reefs here and there. But you're fishing a river system because the Winnipeg River connects to it, and then it expands off into, I think it's MacArthur Falls or something like that. That branches on down to Pine Falls, Seven Sisters, and then eventually into Lake Winnipeg. Then it expands into the bigger part of Lac du Bonnet where it's more of a natural lake, and then there's Lee River that runs off of it. So it is a pretty big system. But since it's a big system, it has big fish in it. So that's why I wanted to go to Lac du Bonnet there. But honestly, I feel like in my favor, the weather wasn't there, obviously. And before that, we had, I think it was like 4 or 5 days of constant heat wave. It was like plus 25 to 30 almost every day. It feels like 32 degrees every day. No wind, and lots of sun. So you get that period of, oh god, I'm probably going to mix this up. I'm going to shoot for it here. But you get that long period of time where you have a high pressure system rolling in because it's constant. And then you get a low pressure system that comes in and stirs things up. So that low pressure system, I also had rain that day, and that's the low pressure system came in. And what I've experienced in my fishing years is either fish can really like a low pressure change, or they really don't like it. And honestly, I feel like the pressure in the system there probably was not in my favor, and I wasn't very experienced on Lac du Bonnet. I would 100% go back, probably with a co-host that knows some of what they're doing, so I can have someone to talk with and someone to hold the camera and have another brain in the boat.
We share the same brain, though. It's a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem.
Yeah.
But just to have another fishing brain in the boat to point myself in the right direction to find fish. But it was a learning experience, that's for sure. I ran around, I think I wasted but I think I burned like half tank of gas trying to find fish.
And I want to say this too. You learn so much more when you have a bad day than when you have a good day.
Absolutely.
That is real.
Absolutely.
Like I don't know about some other people who just shake it off, but I'm like mad at myself. Where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? What do I need to learn about? What should I have done differently? You learn everything when everything goes wrong.
Honestly, like on the car ride home after a fishing trip, whether it was good or bad, I always reflect. It's like, okay, what did I do, and what went wrong, what went right, and what can I do next time to, have a better outcome, I should say. Whether it be finding bigger fish, finding fish, period, or, doing something better to actually catch more fish. I do that every single time I leave a lake.
I want to say, too, and I've been working on this more. Now, I used to more so have, being on Lake Winnipeg with fish roaming, instead of going to the fish, have the fish come to me. Now, it's honestly really not that out there. I mean, fish are moving on Lake Winnipeg regardless. It's a lot more work for you to move around. It's a whole lot less and arguably sometimes more effective if you're in one spot, having them come to you, bringing them in. But I have to say, I've been working on fishing faster. When I say fishing faster, for example, if there's, like, for example, at Barron, we're casting at the shore, but we're not kind of slowly cruising, or we're not stopping fishing and then moving. No, the 8-horse motor on a 12-foot boat, we're moving pretty fast. We're fishing super fast. We've covered so much of the bank, like, within minutes, but we're efficient in the way we do it with the way we're casting. We're covering all the water, we're getting in all the spots, and we're doing it in less time. Now, it's not a perfect science, because you got to think, if that one fish only saw your lure twice, it might have hit it if it saw it on the third time. If you were on spot lock on one spot, there's a rock, you're fishing around it, and you cast it at 3 times and hit it on the third time, then it's kind of it's not, like I said, it's not a perfect science, but I've been learning to fish faster and fish efficiently and just cover as much water as possible.
Absolutely.
So when I have a bad day like I had at Barron, I can only reflect so much because I covered so much water. I tried different techniques, and we did it for many hours. So you can't really go wrong if you put in the work, but if you put in the work in an efficient way and a fast way. Absolutely. I have to say. And that's what, if you talk to any tournament angler, they're going to say the same thing. You got to fish fast, you got to fish hard, but you got to do it very efficiently. And that's what I think.
That's almost everything with a new lake, too. Like, see, with Lac Bonnie, where I went wrong, I was jigging. Using jigging wraps. I was trolling.
Sharpshooting is not that out there.
I was trolling for a little bit, but half the time I was jigging for a little bit. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I suck. So I put a big jigging wrap on, and I drove around points, and I drove around points like 3 times, like back, forth, again. Marked nothing. I moved, and I did that probably 4 or 5 times. And on my 4th time, I marked a fish. I dropped it back. So when I'm driving a little faster, like Nathan said, fishing faster. So I drove over the fish. I saw a big mark in like 27 feet of water, and I threw my jig back, guessing where that fish would have been when I marked him on the 2D sonar. And then I backed the boat up, and since that jigging wrap sinks so fast, I used my jigging wrap and my line as a marker buoy, basically. And the trolling motor was already down, so I kind of put... I don't have spot lock, but I can have spot lock in my head to kind of keep it in one spot with the remote or whatever. And I put the nose of the wind, gave it 2 rips, boom, got him. It was the most satisfying feeling ever. When you mark a fish, throw back at it, and you catch it. It's the most satisfying feeling ever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, what you said about trolling, I have to say, and I don't even feel like there should be much argument to this, for a new lake, the most efficient way to catch fish is trolling. You cover so much water, you do it fast, you can pick out even bigger ones on your lure selection, but it's the most efficient way to do it. Now, some people absolutely despise trolling, and if they had a great day trolling, catching a lot of fish, they would still not have as much time if they caught fewer fish doing sharpshooting or jigging or casting, whatever they prefer to do. But I have to say, I enjoy trolling, personally, because it's just the peace of mind that I'm overwhelmed on a new body of water, but I'm covering lots of water. I'm increasing my chances of picking out the big fish,
running
and
into
it's
a spot,
running into a spot. You find your spots when you're trolling. You kind of let's maybe troll back toward. Let's do another drift over there. Okay, let's see what this is about, and then go from there.
Jigging or try something else on that one spot that you marked fish on or caught fish on, and then go from there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm sorry, Caden. Someday you have to get a tiller. Trolling with a tiller?
Oh, I know. I'm getting there. I have other things to focus on, but when I have some money to play with,
sorry.
when I have money to play with and I want to buy toys, it'll be a tiller boat for sure.
Yeah, I agree. But I have to say one more thing, too. The more you... And I try to do this in my free time, too. I mean, we all get caught on the Northland website or the websites looking at tackles, staring at rods. But in my spare time, I try and learn more about the biology and anatomy of fish. I'm not trying to sound like a nerd here. But the more you learn about fish, not only is it very interesting, but you apply it when you're out on the water, and things kind of... The clouds clear, and the fog becomes...
Everything falls into place.
Everything falls into place. Yes, thank you. The puzzle...
Don't be smart.
It's alright. Trying to get all philosophical here. The puzzle pieces align. The matrix codes are cracking. Learn about fish in your spare time. And we talked about this before, what you should be doing when you're not on the water. This is another thing. Learn about fish. It'll make more sense. You'll be able to make decisions that are...
You'll be able to make more efficient decisions on the water when you know your stuff.
And I do this all the time. If I were a fish, where would I be? And not in like a jokey way, like legitimately. What's the water temperature? What are the conditions? Is there walleye chop? What kind of forage in the lake? Where are the forage? Are there many boats? Is there a lot of pressure? Is there very turbid water? You have to think like a fish.
Absolutely.
And you have to know what a fish is and what a fish is like to learn how to be the fish.
Mm-hmm. Now you're thinking.
Yeah. Final thing. The Land Water Podcast boys will be having a trip next week. Where are we going?
Horseshoe Lake, Manitoba, Canada.
We're making the return. Ice fishing, we did great. We're going back. Well, we did open water there once. I don't want to talk about that, but we're going back.
This will be our third time going in a horseshoe.
Into a back lake,
wow.
Yep.
We gotta find a new lake to do it now.
We do side saddle, honestly. Yeah. We gotta do that next.
Saddle would be cool.
I want to do saddle.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go in there, get back on the smallmouth action, stay overnight, sleep on an island. Probably gonna get eaten by wolves.
We'll be fine.
I think we told the story about this ice fishing season.
The wolves, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you didn't hear about it, this past ice fishing season, we're gonna go to the same reef we went to that last winter. Yeah, this winter. But we went to the reef. We killed the snowmobiles, and in the distance, we heard wolves, and there was a lot of them.
There was at least 6.
It was very eerie because there is not a piss of wind, but you just hear wolves like super far away. You know they're far away, but you can hear them pretty well, and it's pretty over. It's pretty.
It's a good welcoming to the middle of the bush.
It was very cool, very majestic, but it kind of puts you in a place like you are not.
You're not alone out here.
You're not alone, and you're not the. Well, I was gonna say you're not the alpha. We're talking about wolves here. Okay. Whoa. Sorry. That's not. Yeah.
You're not. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You're not the one that trusts. Sorry. Okay.
I know what you're saying though. Like, you're not the. Yeah, it was gonna sound so bad, but I'm not gonna say it.
Please don't.
I'm not gonna say it. But yeah. I don't know how else to put it. Like, honestly, when I think of the bush, like the animal that's up there, like atop the food chain, would be wolves. Like they're, like you said, the alphas.
There's no brown or grizzly bears.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
Wolves.
And brown, like black bears are up there too. But I'd say wolves are high up there.
I'm not trying to get into a big debate here. I'm not trying to turn this podcast that's fishing related into a wildlife related thing. But I firmly believe, and I will stare at you in the soul, and I will tell anyone at home that a grizzly bear or a brown bear is the king of the jungle, per se.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I don't know what I was just gonna say grizzly bears are. Some people debate that wolves are the dominating species, whatever you want to call it, but a bear would whoop up on a.
Yeah, I'd say a grizzly bear would whoop up
like
a pack of wolves for sure. Black bear? Yeah. No.
No. No. Black bears. No. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why.
I went off topic.
I got going really off topic. I got really angry there. Jeez. Okay. Other than that, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so, really. That's pretty much covered most of it that we want to talk about.
It's been a while. Kind of got all this off our shoulders. Everything we want to talk about. It'll probably be a while before we're back. The consistency will not be there as of right now. But that does not mean that big things are coming in the near future. So that is why you need to stay tuned. And that is why you need to make sure you subscribe to the Lions That War podcast. I'm Nathan Blank.
I'm Caden Parisian.
And we are signing off. See you guys in the next one.